Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Business from the Bass Boat Podcast on the Serious Angler Network. And guys, today we've got a great show lined up, one that I've been looking to do for quite some time. It's an exciting time of the year. We're talking January. Derbies are starting to roll through. We've got Derby season right around the corner, big tour starting, and that's exactly where this angler is headed into 2024. But without further ado, let's bring in Mr. Rick Harris to talk all that he's got going on. What's going on, Rick?
What up, Adam? How you doing, man?
Dude, I'm doing great. I'm up in Idaho, and it's actually warmed up. It has been frigid, as most of the country. But man, what about you? How are things in Rick's world in January?
Good, dude. I mean, we just got that freeze blast like the whole country did, which I like it because it makes the fish kind of do what they're supposed to. Because sometimes in Texas, like our winters are just real mild and it spreads them out. But this big cold snap kind of grouped them up. So I'm happy to see that's one good thing that's come out of it.
Heck yeah, that's the truth. And I saw you were down. Didn't you win a derby on Amistad earlier
Yeah,
this year?
yeah, dude. That's such a fun tournament. It's called the Peso Open,
The
and
Peso Open.
yeah, one of my best friends, Kurt Dove, he puts it on, and I think this is like the 13th one. And it's nothing big. It's just like if you win, you get a peso, which is like the Mexico currency,
Right.
and everyone signs it. So it's
That's
like,
cool.
but I mean, everyone fishes it too. I mean, some years there's like 20, 30 boats. Some there, early years there's like 7 or 8, but it's becoming a big deal. And I've won it like 3 times, and it's fun, man. It's kind of a pride deal, but I was happy to go down there with my buddy Dylan and smash on him. It was a big surprise, but it was a lot of fun. We had like 21.5 pounds, which is good there right now. It's fishing pretty tough, but it was fun, man. All shallow and grass, what I like to do. So it was a treat.
Oh. I've never fished any of those southern Texas border lakes and all that stuff, but and I talked to Kurt a decent amount, and we were at Havasu at the Toyota Series in 2023 talking, and it was just like, to me, it's just that Colorado River chain just continues down, and you guys have the same kind of deserty, clear
Yeah.
water fish. I mean, that stuff is so cool to me. I'd love to make a
Yeah.
trip down there.
Yeah. It's my favorite lake in the country. It is awesome. It's because I fished Mead before for the
Okay.
US Open, and it reminded me of Amstead. Like
Okay.
a little bit of grass, clear water, rocky, and there's really not many places like that in Texas. Like Amstead's
Right.
kind of its own gym, which is really cool, and you can do anything you want there. Fish deep, clear water, shallow water. You can go up the rivers and flip wood and cane and do all that. So can become well rounded there. That's where I started guiding, and I really give it up to that lake for teaching me so much.
That's so cool, man. Now, being that far down, I mean, when does the spawn start? I mean, on a place that far south.
So there, it's kind of normal because it's south, but it's more northwest in Texas, if like compared to
Like
Falcon and
Florida.
Choke Canyon.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's not down there yet. It's just kind of right above that line in Florida. So
Okay.
a spot, normally March or April
Okay.
is kind of prime for it. It's not like I've seen them on Choke in December spawning.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
here where I live on LBJ, you get a
Yeah.
warm winter. I mean, early February they'll start going because it's relatively a shallow lake here. But yeah, they'll get going in like early February around here. But Amsterdam's kind of normal.
Yeah. Now with LBJ, so I've got a buddy with a ranch down near Coleman, Texas, and when I visited with him, and we've went down and bass fished. He's got some awesome lakes on his ranch in its own right. But LBJ, I was looking at it when I was going down there. This was, I don't know, a couple of years ago. And I was just looking and I was like, gosh, I saw some like big spotted bass that were weighed in. Or I saw like the spot record or something. Is there spots in LBJ?
There's Guadalupe bass. They
They're
look like
Guadalupe.
spot. Yeah, it's a
They're not
Texas.
spots.
So yeah, it's the Texas fish, state fish, and it's
Okay.
called the Guadalupe bass. And biggest they get's like 3 pounds.
Okay.
But you may have saw some spotted bass like at Allen Henry. They have like 5-6 pounders in that
That's
lake, and that's
totally where it was. Okay, that
yeah,
makes more sense.
that
'Cause I was like, dude, I saw some like hammer spots. Like I was like,
yeah.
"These
There's
big
big ones
spots."
in there, dude. 4 to 6 pounders.
Wow,
Cool.
wow, that's wild. Well, dude, I really wanted to get you on to talk guiding, talk tournament fishing, how you've been able to make a living in this industry. You know, Matt Pangrak, who we're mutual friends with, has had you on talking about your journey into guiding and all that kind of stuff. But I just wanted to go over how you kind of rolled into Hill Country Hammers, what that looks like. I feel like it's a fairly unique guide service in what you guys do and
Yeah.
offer. So I guess let's start there. What's Hill Country Hammers and what do y'all do?
Yeah. Dude, it's cool. It kind of all started. I mean, this is how crazy the world works, man. It started about me and my buddy Jared Poole, who he's the one who started Hill Country Hammer, but we actually met in Lubbock, Texas, where we both used to live, probably 12 years ago.
Wow.
Yes, that's how crazy. So, and this is another crazy thing.
Yeah.
His dad, Philip Poole, guided on Allen Henry for 25 years.
Wow.
So when I first started fishing, I mean, I started fishing. I didn't grow up fishing. I started
Okay.
fishing like when I was 20. I worked at a camp, and my boss taught me how to fish. And then this guy down the street gave me all his old Bassmasters, and I bought Ike Nelly's book at like Hastings and read it, and that kind of got me the idea of tournament fishing. I had no clue of this world until I was like 20, which is
Wow.
which is pretty cool.
That's
So,
that's
anyways,
unique, man. I mean, you don't hear that. I think that's awesome to me. Like
yeah,
that's a really cool deal to see that you were drawn to it and were like, man, I didn't have a background in this, but I'm gonna go do this. I love it.
yeah. If you would have told me when I was 18 you're gonna fish for a living, I'd be like, what do you? I don't even fish
What is
now.
that?
You know what I mean? Exactly. So anyway, so we're in Lubbock, and it's one of I didn't have a boat, nothing. We were fishing ponds,
Mhm.
and I saw this Allen Henry. Like I went over there, and then I saw a fly for a guide, so I hired him. We went out. One of my first times in a bass boat. We went like 65, 70 miles an hour, and then I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Never done that before.
Yeah.
I caught fish. Well, anyways, so I'm fishing these ponds, and I meet this guy. We're fishing. And I was telling him about. I was like, "Hey, I was at Allen Henry with this guy," and he's like, "Yeah, that's my dad." Yeah, and
So
that's how I met.
literally it's
That's
that.
how. Yeah, and that's how I met Jared. And then he moved to LBJ like in 15 or 16, and I'd come down and we'd fish and hang out. And then I started guiding uh, in like early 2018, and so did he. We kind of started guiding at the same time, and just kept in touch and all that. And he started Hill Country Hammer in like 2020. I was I had a rough end of 2020, and I
Okay.
started doing the windmill thing, like the wind turbines.
Yeah.
I started working on that for like 2021, and he wanted me to come join him with Hill Country Hammer. But I was like, man, this is good money. I'm
Right.
kind of doing that. Well, I just miss fishing so much, and we talked about it, and I became part owner into it, and then I've been here ever since. This is our third year going on it, so
Wow.
that's how that. It's weird how those events happen though. Like we met at a pond in Lubbock, and then 12 years later, we're in a guide service together,
Business
hanging out.
partners, friends, like,
Yeah,
yeah, that's I don't know, man. I never take and I've learned and tried to just really follow up with people and meetings that you have because you never know where things are going to go. And you never
no,
know who you're going to work with 10 years later and you're like, "Wow,
mhm.
if I would have never stopped and fished that pond, I would have never been where I'm at today." Like that's
Yeah.
just it's crazy how life works, man.
It is, dude. It is wild. That's like guiding. Like anybody who I have in the boat, like it's crazy. Like they hire me, and then 4 years later, we're really good friends, hanging out still, or they're hiring me still, and it's wild. You never know who you have in the boat, or you never know who you meet.
Dude, yeah. No. That's so cool. And so as far as Hill Country Hammer Guide Service, it started with the idea to just like, okay, hey, we've got these really big fish in all these different lakes. Let's build something that like, I don't know. To me, because from the outside, right? Like I'm not in Texas, I'm not in the guiding business. From the outside looking in, I just feel like you guys have hit a niche in the market where people are like, I want to go catch a double digit. I want to catch my personal best and like you guys, especially during the spawn, all the videos, like I feel like you guys are experts at this. I mean, what was the idea? Because it's not just another guide service, bass fishing guide service.
Yeah.
What was the catalyst to, I guess, turning it into what it is?
Yeah, and so I can't take full credit for this because this is Jared, my partner. When we first started guiding, he was fishing tournaments too, like locally and smashing them, winning tournaments, like doing all that. And then he just kind of like a switch clicked in his head, and he's like, "I want to make the most badass guide service business." Like that's what he wanted to do. I wanted to fish tournaments and do the whole pro thing and go travel the country fishing tournaments, and he
Yeah.
wanted to build a guide business, and that's what he did. And
Wow.
uh, and then the big fish deal, we kind of guiding was kind of tough for me at Amstead,
Uh-huh.
and it was kind of tough for him at LBJ. So we met at Choke Canyon one like early spring and started fishing. That Choke Canyon was going off, and we are both like, man, why don't we just guide here? Like do trips here. And we're not the first. Like we are not the first to like travel around guiding. Everyone's been doing that for years,
Yeah.
but we've kind of like, why don't we just like try to do that? And that's what became Chase the Bite.
Okay. Okay.
So, and then, we started really like, the spawning fish, Jared put the platform in his deck that people have been doing that for years too, but his dad had one. He's been doing it. We were doing it at Allen Henry for a little bit. And now we do it at LBJ and Ivy pretty much strictly because, you know, sight fishing is really good. And our
Right.
goal is to put people on the biggest fish that I've ever caught, whether it be an 8 pounder or a 6 pounder, but usually our clientele is like double digits. So we just go hunting. It's like a hunting trip. It's not really a
Mhm.
fishing trip. It's like and straight hunting. Like we're looking for that big fish to catch, and that's it. Like we don't waste time with fives or little ones. We just go if we think it's 10. Those are the ones we're fishing for.
Wow. Wow. That's so cool, man. And I think that's what I kind of meant as far as the, like you said, I think it's awesome that you're so open and like, look, we're not the first ones to do this, chase the bite, going and chasing this window. But I feel like you've brought it to the masses where it's like if you are somebody who is like, I've fished a lot of places, and there's no problem with going and trying to catch a 6 pounder or an 8 pounder or having a great day crushing 3 and 4 pounders, right?
Yeah,
But if you are like, hey, my goal is to catch a giant, like this is what I'm here for. I feel like that's the niche that a lot of your client base, at least from what I've seen from videos and stuff, it's like they're looking for that. Like it's
yeah,
gonna be a long day. It may not happen today. It may be
yeah.
tomorrow.
And dude, and that's and when we do book, we do a 2 day minimum because like
Right.
you can't just do it one day. And I've kind of learned this. Like you talked about our videos that we get and the reactions.
Yeah.
I've noticed, and I've just noted this guiding, like if we're regular fishing or like
Yeah.
live scoping or anything like that, we're high fiving, where it's a good day, pictures, all that. But when you stare at a bedfish for a couple hours or even a day and you catch it and it's their what they came for and what we worked so hard for, that reaction's like on steroids. You know what I
Dude,
mean? It is insane. Like I get like shaky and crazy like when them catching the fish, you know?
there's something about like, okay, and I think that there's some people who get annoyed with bed fishing and that kind of stuff. And I understand to some extent, but you're releasing the fish, you're putting it back next to its nest. But like that is my like drug in bass fishing. Like if I can sight fish and they're spawning, oh, did I lose you? You
No,
back?
you got you. You're good. Yeah.
Okay. And like this year at the Delta, right? I caught the vast majority of my fish spawn fishing, right? And that is just the most fun you can have. Got a good co-angler in the back that's just fired up. I'm like, get ready, get ready. She's spinning on
Yeah.
it. She's spinning on it, and then finally just crack her. Like that's just like, oh man, there's nothing better. And I think to guide to do that would be so much fun because I just, if it's a team tournament or fun fishing, whatever else, like I'm just obsessed with watching that fish get just more and more ticked off and then
Yeah.
finally have it all happen. So those reactions, you're right, are just priceless, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and I didn't really notice it until after about the third year or so we've been doing it and posting videos. I'm like, man, people really freak out like doing this other than
Right.
the other stuff. I'm like, I wonder why. And I really started thinking about it, and it makes total sense. you know.
Dude. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
it's cool, dude. We love it.
I love it. Well, and so when folks come to Hill Country Hammer, are they do you have the option to sign up for this chase the bite, or like are they calling and saying, hey, here's my goals, when should I book? Like what does it look like from you're just someone listening to this wanna jump in?
Yeah, so it's pretty much like for us, March through May, we're strictly sight fishing. I mean,
Okay.
there's like I get lucky and I get to go do some tournaments, but all our other, there's three of us. We're
Mhm.
sight fishing somewhere that time of year because that's the time you can do it. So we just try to capitalize on it. We go all in on it. And there's some days where you're just like kind of sick of looking at them, but
Right.
then you find one and catch it, and then that all goes away instantly. But
Mhm.
but yeah, pretty much March through May, we're strictly sight fishing. So
Okay.
if you want to come try to catch a double digit, hit us up, and we'll try to get you on one. And it's been good, man. We ran the numbers a couple of times, like see what percentage wise,
Okay.
and one year was really good. It was like 42% caught a
Got a
double.
double digit.
Yes,
Oh my gosh.
yes, it
Wow.
was nutty. But that's just like the lake was popping off. Like that's just everything. But even now, it's like still in the upper 30s.
Yeah. That's
So
so sweet, dude. So
yeah,
that March through May window, you're sight fishing strictly, chasing chasing them, and outside of that window, I mean, then are you still guiding trips, going and scoping in the wintertime
yeah.
or in the summer? Like, what does it look like outside of that window?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say that. I just had a 2-day weekend trip here at LBJ scoping. That's what the
Okay.
guys wanted to do. They're like, we want to learn. We came out, taught them a lot. We caught some fish. It was a good time. The weather was pretty crappy yesterday, but you
Yeah.
know, we went into there's a place on the lake. We went and had lunch, and then went back out there, so that was nice. But yeah, pretty much in the winter, we're some scope trips are available, or like a lot of guys, they're getting ready for tournaments, so we do some guiding for that. And
Mm.
a lot of high school kids want to come learn stuff, so we do a lot in the winter. And then what I do is I go up to New York from June about mid June to about late August, September, and I guide for smallmouth up there all summer
Living the
on the
dream.
St. Lawrence River, Ontario. So, and we've had a couple of guys that want to go catch their biggest smallmouth ever, and we take them
Okay.
up there and go do that, or try to.
Yeah, yeah. So you're able to have some of that same client base that's down in Texas that want to go experience the smallmouth stuff. You're able to just do that same thing on the St. Lawrence.
Exactly, and that's pretty much like chase the bite. Like it's good up there that time of year, so
We need to
I
go
go,
that way.
yeah, I go up there and do that. So it's fun, man. I'm very fortunate to do that. It's awesome. And then there's always tournaments up there. I get to fish, and it's just a
Totally.
great summer up there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, oh man, that's the dream for me would be to chase the bite, if you will,
Mhm.
with tournament fishing. And it'd be like with I would love to just summer New York every year. Like that,
Yeah.
just that whole area to me, A, it's beautiful. B, the fishing is absolutely bonkers. And it's just, I mean, I've from the little time I spent on the St. Lawrence and on Champlain, it's just like this is the coolest thing in the world to me. Like it's so cool
It
up there.
is, man. No, I agree with you 100%. It's so, and people think, oh, New York, dude. It's like upstate New York. It's just like a bunch of like pretty much redneck dudes.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it's
just
not. It's
farming,
like
farming
yeah,
communities. Man.
yeah.
Like it's
Everybody fishes and hunts, and it's a lot of fun, man. And even down here in the summer, so like we're on LBJ, we do a lot of night trips and bow fishing. Like because
really
this lake's real, wakeboard boat popular in the summer because
sure.
I mean it's covered in houses.
Right.
So we do like morning trips, and then like we'll chill out, and then do like night trips on lights or bow fishing and stuff. So the guys down here are still busy.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you guys do hunting stuff in the fall, right? And in the
Yeah,
winter.
yeah. So I've never shot a deer. I don't hunt or
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
but my partner Jared, and then Alan Barrington, one of our another partners, they go do the hunting stuff. And this kid we hired on, Blake, who's awesome. He loves to hunt too. So they kind of do the hunting thing. I still fish and guide, and I'll go out there and help. They'll have me out there and stuff. But they do dove hunts. We're on a couple of ranches with giant axes
Yeah.
and giant whitetail. I mean, it's all high fence stuff, but they do a
Right.
great job at you know strictly kind of trophy stuff too. Like the same as like people aren't doing like meat hauls on these hunts. Like they're going for
Big buck.
big mounts, yeah, big bucks and axes. And there's some specialty stuff. Like there's a couple of elk out there one year, some ram, black buck,
Well,
all the exotics and stuff like that.
that's so cool, man. Well, you're in the place for all that, no doubt. And I feel like Texas is just known for those trophy critters, right? Like animal wise, fish wise, like that's what it is. And I'm sure, right? I would assume a lot of these like clients that you start with, start to turn into, hey, I want to come March 16th every year or whatever it is, right? As far as like that kind of a thing, that reoccurring, does that
Oh
happen fairly?
yeah, dude. Like I have dudes like will catch a fish and they're like, all right, put me down 4 days next year, and they're already booked. So like when we get kind of, I mean, I look at my calendar now, we still have some available dates, but I mean, our March and April, May is pretty stout right now.
Wow. Wow. And there's
Yeah.
got to be a huge benefit, I feel like, working with 3 guides, right? As far as just staying in touch with each other on a place, right? Or like if you find a 12
Oh,
pounder and you're like, hey, it didn't happen for me, but you need to get a client over here because it probably is going to happen,
dude,
this
so check
afternoon.
this out. We do this. So if somebody's off, which is very rare, but if somebody's off or their customer cancels,
Yep.
they're out hunting for the other guys.
They're scouting.
They're
Yeah.
scouting straight up for the other guys and calling. And let's say this. Let's say I have a guy for 4 days, right?
Yep.
And the first day we knock off a 10 pounder. So cool. We're not looking for anything under like 12. So if I see one that's like 10 and Jared's client wants a 10, hey, there's a 10 over here. Come get it. We're going to keep moving for like a 12.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So we really try to get everyone on at least one. Where and they're all cool with that. We let them know that every client, like I've seen clients like, okay, I want a 13. This is a 12. That dude wants it to, like, he can have it.
That's
Like
insane.
it's so cool. I've seen it time and time again. It's really cool to see that.
That's so cool. And I'm sure, I don't know, man, like you're dealing with clear water on those 2 specific fisheries you're talking about. But like, man, I've been fooled plenty of times looking at them and thinking how big they are, like the Delta or something like that. And it's just like, man, that thing is like, you start looking at it and you're like, oh no, that's really long. Like that's a really big one.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how many times have you been like, hey, I think this one's a 9, and then you're like, oh my gosh. Like, does that happen very often, or are you pretty well dialed at this point?
No, yeah, it still happens definitely. Like, and it'll happen the opposite way too. Like I've
Okay.
had it where like this is like it's probably like an 8, and then it'll be like a 10, or it's a 10 instead of 8, or whatever. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
few times, one of my favorite one was 2 years ago. We
Uh-huh.
had a 14.8, and this is a hilarious story.
Yeah.
So there's these two brothers.
Mhm.
I was gone at a tournament or something. I can't remember. Well, Jared had the two brothers the day before, and it was blowing like 30. Like it was
Okay.
a terrible day. They still went out. They found one. They're on it for like a few hours, and they look to kind of the right, and it looks like a bed or whatever. Well, they keep looking at it. Well, it moved. The whole bed moved, and they're like, "What?" First flip, 13 something.
Oh my gosh.
Like, so I had the guys the next day.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking down they're in my boat. I'm walking down the ramp. And I'm like, guys, like tough act to follow. You caught a
So
fish
you're
of a
like
lifetime. Like we're gonna try, but like we'll
you're
try to
like
go.
starting with expectations here. Like
Yes,
you're like,
like let's
hey,
just
yesterday was wicked. Okay. I don't know
huh
if we're gonna be able to do that again.
exactly. So I was like, let's just go. One of the brothers hasn't caught a 10. I was like, let's go cut it. That's our goal today. Get you a 10 or something.
Yeah.
So, dude, I idle like 50 yards, drop the trolling motor, and there's a giant on a bed. And I was like, yeah, she'll work. And then a couple hours later, she nose down on the bait. And I was like, I didn't tell my client this, but in my mind, I'm like, that's a lot bigger than I thought. And
Yeah.
then we got her in the boat, and it's 14 and a half.
Oh
So 2 days, each of them got a share lunker that we didn't turn in because they're spawning, but still like over 13 pounds in 2 days.
wow.
And then after we caught that 14, we went down the bank and caught another 10.
Oh my
So they had
god.
a 13 and a half, a 14 and a half, and a 10 in 2 days.
That is absurd.
And then I was like, dude, whatever horseshoe you guys have, give to me. Cause like you guys are just lucky.
Yeah.
Give me that energy. The next week I fish Texoma in a Toyota and win it.
That's right. That one day, dude, I fished that as a co-angler. I
Yeah.
drove down. I had a work meeting in Lubbock actually, and then I drove and fished it as a co. And I remember that it got canceled with the wind, and I was like, "Oh
Oh yeah.
crap!" Like that was sweet, dude.
Yeah, dude. That was all luck. Like that was a kind of a luck deal. I caught two in the last like second. I was like done. I caught
They
two.
were big ones, right? Like two big
Yeah,
ones on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, like there, like one was three, one was like six something. But yeah, like right at, I was leaving and caught them. Like so that's luck. So that whole like 1 week was just insane luck. You know what I mean?
Like you'll talk about that week the rest of your life.
Yeah. I mean, there's no. And then, dude, I got back from that tournament. I took this
Okay.
dude out, and he catches an 11 and a 10
What?
off that. And one of the, and get this, one of the tens was literally like you could pitch a bait at the boat ramp, like at the ramp, and it was
Like
right
he
there in
was.
front of everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's just like that whole week was just. I'll
Absurd.
never have a week like that in my life again.
Wow. Now I got a question around some of these spawning fish because I've started to kind of pick up on this, especially lakes. Now moving from Colorado to Idaho, it's like, man, I'm starting fresh on a lot of these bodies of water. But like I noticed, you start to notice like, okay, I've even kind of seen this at Havasu, where it's like, obviously fish tend to spawn in the same location or similar locations, and over and over. Is it Have you noticed that with these really big, I mean, these, we're talking world-class fish, 10 plus pound fish. Does that happen the same way, or is it like unpredictable? Or are you like, oh man, that 13, we haven't seen her this year. You know what I mean? Like how does
Yeah,
that work in your eyes?
man. For me, I think I've done smallmouth just a hair. I mean, not much, just a hair. I think those are more like that than largemouth because I
I
think
think that's a fair
largemouth are
statement.
so. Yeah, I think largemouth are so like finicky on weather.
Uh-huh.
Like I think that has to do with everything because like this lake usually like the north end they spawn first usually.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Yeah.
like past years like complete opposite.
Really?
And
Just
then
because
in
the water temperature was a
I
different
yeah,
way?
yeah, but it was kind of the same way. It's weird. And then like some areas were, bomb the year before, then they suck this year and vice versa. It's just, for I think largemouth are little different. And that just all depends on, all these reservoirs are so up and down
Yeah,
that I think
sure.
that
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that's like throws the biggest loop here. But this lake here's constant level and they still kind of throw me for a loop.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's more, weather related.
Yeah. Well, I think I agree with that. I didn't think about before saying that. I feel like every time that I can think of it on a very similar desert lake in Colorado called Pueblo Reservoir, and it has smallmouth, largemouth, and spots in it, and they're not big. Like right, like if you catch a 5 pounder, like you have probably got big bass. So, but the smallmouth, I have noticed like there's a black rock in this bay that I'm like, dude, there's always a 3.5 pound smallmouth on that black rock. Like every year during the spawn, she's there.
Yeah.
And this year she weighed 3.6. You know what I mean? Like she just
Yeah.
went up a little bit. But that's generally thinking about that when I go back to the same areas. A lot of times it's the smallmouth, like that I feel like are consistent on their spawning location.
Yeah. I agree with that, man. But with largemouth, man, it's just like they spawn from
They're
anywhere.
tough.
Yeah, I've caught them in 20 foot. I've caught them in inches. It's just they got spawn all over the map. Like I think there's a lot more fish spawning than we think. I really do. Like you don't have to see every one of them.
Mm.
I've caught them on Amstead in 20 foot, and I'm reeling them up like on a grass line, and
Okay.
eggs are just like pouring out. You know what I mean?
Wow. And
Yeah.
now is that a fish like that you saw on scope and realized it was on a bed because it was staying in the same area, or were you just fishing and then
Yeah, I
you're
was just
saying
fishing.
and you
Yeah, I was
caught
just
it?
fishing around. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then sometimes a lot, you'll fish, you'll catch one, it's a male and it's like pissing or something. Flip back
Right.
in there, boom, catch a female. So it's and that's all the way up to 20 foot. And I think it can go further than that in how clear the place is.
Right.
But and
That's crazy.
even if it's dingy, I mean, I think they still spawn a lot shallower than we think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's, man, there's something I feel like the last couple of years of traveling around and fishing, I've started to really pay more attention during those times of the spawn, and it may not even be the perfect spawn window, but like in practice, especially just really throwing back in areas and being like, okay, starting to really dial in muddy water. Like these fish are all on beds right here. Like
Hmm.
this is a group of bedfish, like
Yep.
it's just, I don't know, that stuff is so fun to me, whether it's clear water or muddy water. When they're on beds, I just feel like decision making and everything tournament wise in my head is so much easier. Like I'm like, okay, I know
Totally.
that one's a 7. Like I need to go there
Yeah.
first. That one's, you just have your system. Whereas when it's not happening, you're like, crap, man, I gotta like just start making decisions, go on the fly.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the cool dude. Like tournament fishing, that's the fun part about it for me. Like I think my best tournaments, I've either figured out the deal like the last day of practice
Uh-huh.
or during the event.
Right.
And those have been my best tournaments. Like, and my two worst tournaments this past year were
Uh-huh.
like, I'm dialed, going here, smashing them. No, like this is gonna be easy. And those
Yeah.
happen to be my worst ones.
Dude, yeah. It's wild how that works to me too. It's like you
Yeah.
just never know. And that's what's I think the other thing that I really love about tournament fishing is it's like, and I don't play golf, but it was compared one time to me from someone in college. It was like, well, Adam, what you're kind of talking about, it sounds like to me like, you're never out of it because you could hit a hole in one on this, hole and you're right back in it score wise and things. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's so true. You go and you flip a dock and you catch a 7 or a 5 on whatever body water. You're like, okay, momentum's
Yeah.
building. We still got a shot
Mhm.
here. It's gonna be all right. Like
Yep. It's
that's
crazy
what I
what
love.
one bite can put you in. Like it can just open the door to the biggest thing ever with one bite, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And same with and that's what's guiding has taught me a lot too. Like if you're
Mm,
sucking one day and because dude, it's I don't care how long I do this, I always want my customers just to have the most spectacular day ever. But
right,
that's not feasible every day. It's just not. But one 4 pounder, one 6 pounder can make their whole trip. So one bite can change their whole trip, just like in a tournament, one bite can change the whole tournament. So having
right.
that mindset over and over again, like it's made me a great middle angler, just guiding so much and trying for that one bite every day, and then putting that towards tournaments. It's you know
Dude,
it's
yeah.
made me better fisherman for sure.
And just the pressure I feel like of this client spent all this money to get here. He may be flying in from Michigan, right? Or something, and he's trying to catch his biggest fish of his life. And you're like, it's gonna be a tough day. Like
Yeah.
he might be coming in and you're like, yesterday was brutal, but you're not gonna, like we're
Hmm.
gonna make it the best we can. Like,
Exactly, and that have we have a bunch of dudes from like out of the country, like South Korea, Japan.
really?
Dude, we had some Honduras dudes come. They were awesome. Like, yeah, we've had dudes come out of the country for this, and they have a blast.
Holy cow, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
it's
That
fun,
is
man.
really cool flying in and I mean, so what does it look like? LBJ, right? You're closest what to Austin? What's
Yeah,
where do people
yeah.
fly into?
Usually Austin.
Okay,
You fly into
got it.
Austin, get an Uber, come out.
And they'll Uber up to LBJ, and then from there, are you guys then meeting at a certain lake, or are they like what does it look like on a trip if someone books with you?
Yeah, so here on LBJ, it's awesome. We have that place I was talking about where we ate lunch the other day. It's
Yeah,
called Wake Point. Do we just meet them there, pick them up, go on the lake, and drop them off there? I mean, it's easy.
yeah, yeah. And then if you're like, hey, it's chase the bite, and you're like, all right, we're going to Ivy because we
Mhm.
found them during this time of the year, then they're just meeting you out at Ivy. Is that how it
Yeah.
goes?
Yeah, they usually fly into San Angelo. That's the
Okay.
closest airport. And then Ivy, there's Elm Creek Lodge, there's a couple other places you can stay.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes those are all booked up. So they got to either stay in San Angelo or Ballinger or Coleman, which is like 30 minutes to an hour away, depending where you're at.
Yeah.
And they cruise over and have breakfast and go. And the cool thing about like the spawning trip, we start at like 9, 10 o'clock
Oh, yeah,
where the sun gets
exactly.
right. It's
You're
awesome. Like
waiting
you
for the
just
sun
sleep
to get
in.
right. Yeah,
Yes. Yep. 'Cause
that's cool.
you sight fish, dude, like, it's crazy how, like, the morning, I mean, you can catch them. 'Em, don't get me wrong, but, like,
Right.
looking for them, you want that perfect sun. So
Yeah.
when that sun gets right, that's when we're on the water. And then same thing in the evening, dude. There's just like in 15 minutes, you can tell like it just goes, doot, and it's hard.
Really brutal to see. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're just like, what? Like, so we usually just do our times for that. And so, some days are better than others, but usually it's like, 9, 10 o'clock to about 5 or 6.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man, that's dead on. I feel like one mistake I made, and I can't like at the Delta this last year on the first day, I had found all these bedfish and I was like, I got to get to them. Like I've got an early boat draw, like I got to get to them. Right. And it was like, I blew through there blind fishing and I caught a couple of males just blind fishing going through there when it was dark. But then same deal. I waited until 8:30, 9:30, came back through there, and that's when I really caught my good bag, was just because I could see everything. Everything was dialed. And tidal-wise too, the tide had started to drop out, so then it really made it to where you could see those females.
Yeah.
But, like, day 2, I was like, "Man, I'm gonna go wind a chatterbait first thing in the morning because I don't need to basically be wasting this first hour in the dark. I can go junk fish and catch some other fish." Oh, we might have lost Rick. Hope his phone didn't die. See if he'll come back in. But anyways, that's a lesson I learned on the Delta, and I think could be applied on any sight fishing tournament. Is you don't necessarily need to be there first thing unless you feel like maybe it's a fish that's obvious and a lot of guys see it and know about it. Then it's like, maybe it makes sense to go and guard it a little bit or catch them first thing blind. But I feel like that window of 8:30, 9 o'clock, because the other thing is reaction works first thing in the morning, right? In a lot of situations. And so you can go get a good reaction bite or two first thing and get going. But just my take on it all. We might have lost him. But anyways, Hill Country Hammer and Guides, such a unique deal to me on what they do as far as they're chasing those absolute giants in the jungle and really heavy pound test on those bed fishing fish. And it just is such a neat deal to me. If you haven't seen their videos, you're probably living under a rock when it comes to that stuff. Let's see if he's texting me here. You back?
Sorry, dude. I had a call come in and just messed up everything.
You're all good, dude. You're all good. I just
What I want to hear about
yeah.
this Delta is day 2, and the tide was going in, and then you probably already told everybody, but I want to hear it.
Yeah, no, I did a little bit, but yeah, just the second day and the third day, I just was like, there's no point in wasting my time necessarily sight fishing first thing. So I would go run a reaction bait and go catch some fish first thing, and I ended up weighing, I think, 2 of those fish the next 2 days that were quality fish that weren't my sight fishing fish. It was just a fish I was
Yeah.
going and fishing for because it was like, why am I going to waste my time really struggling to look at them when I have a chance to catch a reaction fish, especially first thing in the morning.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. That like so those lakes that y'all fish in that Western,
Mm.
Toyota, those are so bucket list lakes for me. I want to go so bad. It's honest, I'll probably watch it like once a year, especially like right before sight fishing. Like the Delta one where like Zaldane was sight fishing them, Martins was
Mm.
sight fishing them, and they're all just huge, fat giants. Like that's one of
Yeah.
my favorite Elite Series events to watch. So cool.
I've watched that same deal so many times. Like that
Yeah.
is, yeah, it is. And man, it's changed, right? Like a lot as far as just down cycles, up cycles, all that kind of thing. Clear Lake right now is booming again, but the Delta's kind of not what it used to be as far as those. But like last year there, I fished the spawn tournament, and then my brother, who lives out in California, he and his fiance had just got engaged, and so we jumped back out on the Delta and took him around and stuff, and, like, there was an absolute freak that I found and could not she
Nice.
was so fresh, and she had just pulled up, but she was over 10, like, she was,
Yeah.
just an absolute giant, but, like, those Delta fish are just so dark and pretty, and, I mean, you guys have really, really pretty big green ones too just because of that clear
Yeah.
water, but, man, it was so cool just seeing those really big ones.
Yeah, dude, and it's fun just, like, going around and, like, seeing them, like, because 'cause we'll see
Mhm.
them like, cruising just, like, they're not on beds, but they're just cruising,
Right?
like, to go find a male, and, dude, we'll follow them for a little bit, look like, it's really cool.
It's just something to, like, when you see something like that, I mean, that's what, like, right, I'm a big hunter as well, and, like, I just like watching them, man. It's the same thing with hunting for me. Like, if
Yeah.
we're watching a group of elk and there's a big bull in it or whatever it is, like, I'm just obsessed with watching them, see what they're doing. Like, that to me is just it's the same thing for fishing. Like, if I can find a big one and just stare at it and feel like I'm in an aquarium, like, I'm as happy as can be. I don't even need to catch it. Like, I wanna go try and catch it, but I just like watching everything.
Yeah, dude. Well, dude, you need to get down here and get on the platform with us and come do it. You'll enjoy every minute of it. It's so much fun.
Oh, man. No, that's exactly what I need to do. There's no doubt. Um, well, man, I want to transition here into your 2024. I know you're making a jump up. So what's kind of the fishing plans for 2024 for Rick Harris tournament wise?
Yeah, just so I qualified for the invitationals. Uh, it's a awesome feeder system, for the BPT and stuff like that. And
Uh-huh.
I wanted to fish them for a while. You know, a lot of people get invite, but I've
Right.
gotten it the past few years. But
Sure.
I wanted to qualify on paper, like
Right. The
you know,
actual.
yeah, and that doesn't knock anyone taking an invite for because dude, you might be like in a situation where you can't fish a lot of Toyotas to qualify or put the time in, and this is like your one shot, or like that's fine.
Totally.
It's all good if it's allowed, it's allowed. But just mentally, I wanted to like it's not like I'm in an invitational event thinking, man, I should I even be here, kind of thing, and
Mhm.
that messed with me. So I wanted to like qualify on paper to go. So and that's pretty much where all my eggs are on this year.
Yeah. And with that, the paper, right? The invitational paper, is that 5 top 5 AOY in each division, or do you know what it is, the number as far as what
Yeah.
goes into? Okay.
So in the rules, it was top five,
Okay.
and then it was if somebody in those top five doesn't want to go,
Mhm.
it goes to 10.
Right.
So if you're in the top 10, you have a chance. And I,
Right.
I finished seventh, and then like two dudes didn't want to go, so through the rules
Right.
qualified.
Right. I think that's a smart way to do things, man. So, like, this, I finished 10th AOI in the Western Toyotas, right? So got an invite to do that. But, like, where I'm at mentally and just trying to go through everything and financially and make it all work, I think the mindset of that you're having as far as I wanna be really competing at a high level before jumping into this, so mentally, I'm not necessarily feeling like I'm not ready for this or those types of things. We lost Rick again, for those of you on, listening. We'll see if we can bring him back. But anyways, I think there's something to that levels of fishing, before you jump to that next one. And I think you got to make that jump and do it for yourself and what you want to do. But like competing at that high level, without really doing well at the level below that, I think it can hinder a lot of guys and put a bad taste in their mouth when they jump into a top series tour without having climbed the ranks, if you will. And I think that's how you get into financial trouble too. So just my 2 cents on it all. And I think that's a smart way to go. Let's see if you can bring us back in. Oh, he was there a second ago. Just too popular of a guy. Let's see. In the meantime, we may as well go over the Tackle Warehouse Invitational schedule for 2024. So, Tackle Warehouse Invitationals for 2024. Got Rayburn, February. Of course, that's what he's talking about there, February 9th. Then West Point Lake in Georgia, which I feel like we haven't seen in so long. Super excited to see that. I think that was where Skeet Reese in the Bassmaster tournament had an awesome, awesome derby. So that'll be sweet. Then, of course, Kentucky Lake, April 19th to the 21st. That'll be a Smalley deal and be awesome. And then, oh, he's back. Dude, you're just too popular.
All right, sorry. Every time I get a call on my computer, it freaking cuts me out. Sorry about that.
You're good, man. You're good. You're just too popular.
Yeah.
Picking up calls. But no, man, I was just mentioning that I think it's smart to, in your head, if that's what works for you. I've thought about that a lot in my fishing as well. Is like before I jump levels, I want to be very proficient in fishing at a high level because I feel like a lot of people get a bad taste in their mouth in this sport by jumping because they get the opportunity. There's nothing wrong with it. And maybe
Yeah.
they're financially capable and able to do that. But if someone, I feel like we've seen a lot of people drop out because they just make that jump to the top level. They kind of get their teeth kicked in for a year, 2 years, and they're like, this wasn't all it was cracked up to be. I'm out.
Yeah.
Whereas if
And
you slowly build, like I feel like you have the longevity factor, you know?
yeah, and it's a total mental thing. It really, I know this is like beating a dead horse, but like mentally tough in this sport is everything. Like it really is.
Mm-hmm.
And that, trained to do that because I fished the Bassmaster Opens in 2017. I fished 3 events and didn't even catch a limit in any of them. I zeroed like, dude, talk about get your teeth kicked in.
Yeah, yeah. Dude,
So,
I know the feeling.
yeah, dude, and
I think everyone does who's fished tournaments for long enough.
yeah, exactly, man. So that's advice to anyone who's thinking about doing this. Just start your local deal. Have success. Don't just like fish them and then like, oh, move out. Like have success. Like get the ball rolling, then maybe fish some BFLs, have success, and go up. You don't have to win events because winning is, as you all know, dude, winning's hard.
Oh,
Like winning's tough. So,
yeah,
winning everything is very hard to do. But in your mind, you think you're going to win every tournament, or you wouldn't be there. So
right.
that's the right moment. But success sometimes might not be winning, but getting a check, getting a top 10, qualifying for something. That's a win in itself.
I totally agree. I mean, to me, it's always like if you can chase top tens, I mean, even really top 20s, but like top tens to me, you're putting yourself in a position to win, right? Like that's when you could have that go right. And you never know when that's necessarily going to happen where you catch that 7 when, it should have been a 3-pounder, but that 7 puts you over the edge. But like, totally agree. And like a win isn't necessarily a win. It could be qualifying for the championship consistently. Like if you're like, hey, I'm consistently making it in fishing at a high level AOY wise, like I think that's a win. Like that's a next
Yeah,
level up.
definitely, dude. And that's another thing about tours. That championship's so much fun. I fished 3 of them, dude, and they're just
Uh-huh.
like, there's no pressure. You didn't pay for them. It's for a
No,
lot of money. You just go swing that bat. You don't have to worry about points, nothing. You just go as hard as you can and see what happens.
dude. Yeah. This last year was my first Toyota Series championship at Table Rock, and it was a blast, man. I had a really good day one, and then I struggled to make things happen the second day. But yeah, and you had a good tournament there, right? You top 10, didn't you?
No, I got like 17th, like
Okay.
top 25.
Out of
Yeah, but dude,
200 boats, man. Like that's great.
yeah, and practice was like junk for me, dude. I didn't. I figured out something literally the last 30 minutes of practice.
God, I
And
love
that's
tournament
what
fishing.
I know, dude. And that's what got me going. And then I like, oh, I'll start here where like I caught 2, and then that turned into something. And then like day 2, I was like, went back, nothing. So I was like, oh, I'll go over here where I caught 1. And then I spent the rest of my day there and had a good, you know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah,
it's crazy how that happens.
yeah, 100%. Well, dude, while you were coming back on there, I was going over the 2024 Tackle Warehouse Invitational schedule. I didn't get quite all the way through it, but obviously Rayburn starting up. Then what I like about it is a couple of places that feel like you haven't seen in a long time, right? As far as on a pro level stuff, but like West Point Lake in Georgia, like that's Skeet Reese, right? Didn't he have the big swim boat
Yeah,
deal a long time
yeah,
ago there?
he won there. That was like over 10 years ago. So that's one that me and my buddies are talking about that we're real excited about because there hasn't been much coverage there in the past 10 years. So
Yeah,
it's not unknown because I'm sure there's local dudes that fish it and that they're gonna have the edge on us. But dude, that's one I'm really excited about because no one's fished it for a long time, tournament wise.
dude.
So there's really not much to go off of.
Right, right. And then Kentucky Lake's making a big comeback. That place is like a completely new place, I feel like, from when there was this surge of tournaments there. I mean, obviously there's a Toyota series there last year, the
Yeah,
year before that. But like that's been like a smallmouth deal, right? Here in the last couple of years.
that's what the research I've done has looked at either smallmouth or, because the ledge deal, I mean, all those Asian carp kind of mess that place up. That's what
Yeah.
the story on the street is.
Yeah.
But the thing is about tournament fishing, somebody's going to catch them. You know what I
Always.
mean? No matter how tough or slugfest, somebody's going to catch them. Might as well be you.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it goes basically Rayburn, then West Point in March, Kentucky Lake in April, Lake Eufaula in Alabama Eufaula in May,
Yeah, that's going to be
and
a fun
then
one.
Champlain, and then Detroit River. So are you guys just staying in the river there?
No,
Okay.
I mean, I haven't really looked. I'm assuming I haven't looked at it yet. I could be wrong on this, and y'all can make fun of me if I'm wrong. But I'm assuming we can either go to Erie or St. Clair.
Okay. So
I would
that's
think
just
I
where
could
you're
be.
going out.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but that's the gist that I've concluded with. I hope so,
Got it.
because I got a plan. Hopefully, it's open.
You got a plan, so you're like, please make sure we can go a direction. Have you spent much
Exactly.
time on on that body? I mean, either one of those, I
I
guess.
fished. I fished the last FLW co-angler event on St. Clair in
Okay.
like 18. It was. I went up with Kurt, and
Very
that was
cool.
one of the funnest. That was like my first time fishing for smallmouth too. So it was,
Oh man,
dude, it was so
just blown
awesome.
away.
Like, yeah, I can't wait to go back there. Hopefully, St. Clair's open, which I'm pretty sure it is. So.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. Well, it's what I've always liked about the Tackle Warehouse Invitational schedule, and really, it's stayed like this even when it was the tour. It was like they kind of cram everything from February through July, right? Like it's like a short window, which is kind of nice in my eyes for someone like yourself, because you can be guiding and doing other things for the rest of that time of the year, or fish Toyota series, those kinds of things. I feel like it's a good chunked in season, if that makes sense. Another phone call. Boy, he better get ready to go here because someone is mad at him. See if he comes back. Maybe not. Nope. Here he's coming back. Give us just a second here. But anyways, I like that schedule. I think that Champlain in June will be incredible. And then West Point is just such a unique one to me. So super cool to see that. I'm curious who he's running with this year. Would love to get that from him if he can get this technology figured out to get back in. Dude, you're just way too popular, man. Getting
I'm
yelled
just
at. Someone,
I'm just so popular, dude.
that's what it is.
It's all the bill collectors.
Ah, there you go. You're like, hey, I'm actually out of money, so they're coming for
Yeah,
me.
yeah. But yeah, dude, like it is a cram schedule, which I like because it's every month there's something. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you're
Because
going.
yeah, because you know like how it is. Like when did your season end over there on the west side?
Man,
Like
last
May?
year, yeah, I think May or June,
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
you had to wait the whole year pretty
For
much
the
to go to the
Toyota
Toy
Series
Series
championship.
Championship.
Right, right.
Yeah, which is awesome, but still, like I get what you're saying, but it's awesome that it's like every month there's an event.
Yeah, boom, boom, boom. No, for
Mhm.
sure. Oh, I think it'll be awesome. So who are you rolling with this year? Are you riding solo? What do you have a group of guys that you're staying with housewise? Like what do things look like for you?
Yeah, so me and my buddy Alec Morrison and then Brett Conrad, we're all rolling together, us three. Uh,
Yeah.
the Texas boy and a couple of New York studs, which is funny, but that's
I
that's
love
the
it.
crew right there.
I love it. Well, Alec is
Yeah.
awesome, dude. I got to
Oh,
meet
dude,
him
he's yeah.
at Champlain um, a couple of years ago, and then of course he has had an incredible season this last year and all of that
Oh,
too.
like unreal season. Like top 10,
Such a nice
literally
guy, like
everything. Oh,
just
he's the
so
man.
down to
He's
earth. Yeah.
yeah, and I've known him. Like we've all know. Like me, I say we, like, a little group. We've known him for since he's in high school.
Wow.
So I've known him a long time. Just watched him to see what he's been doing is nuts. Like you know, dude. Like we're all good anglers or whatever, but like there's something special about him. Just natural, and he understands fish. He looks at stuff in a different way. Like he's gonna
That
bang
makes
some
sense.
heads in for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's
Yeah,
super awesome to hear you say that about your buddy too. That's cool.
yeah. And he's taught me a
Hey,
ton. Like and that's another thing. We work together well. Like
I was gonna say, so is this like going into this season? What does working together look like for your crew? Are you guys like,
yeah,
hey,
like we
what do
get
you
off
guys?
the water, talk like what happened that day for each of us,
Okay,
and it's funny because like we've done that, and me and Alec like has fished in the same tournaments and had success, but we're doing completely two different things. Like that's happened like 4 times this year.
yeah,
So we're not like ripping each other off, but like it just helps us understand something just a little bit better.
100%.
And yeah, and some dudes can do that, some dudes can. I've really never like during the Toyotas, like I just travel by myself. Like
Yeah,
I've really never traveled with anybody. I've just
uh-huh.
kind of been like a lone ranger. So it's gonna be fun doing a whole season with somebody because like if me and Alex fish an event together, which is we only fish like a few, but we talk and have had success together. So that's a
Yeah,
little cool momentum going in next year.
no doubt, man. That's awesome. That's what I love about the camaraderie and tournament fishing and all that aspects. I mean, like you said, you kind of got to decide what works for you, whether you are gonna you know, be the guy that shares information with other people. I think you just got to be really upfront and honest and decide what works for you and with a group of guys. Man, if we could get Rick to end the show out, we'll end the show out. But that's maybe what we'll just do here. Well, folks, wish we could actually say goodbye to Rick Harris, but the bill collectors have finally come calling too much to where he is stuck. But anyways, with that, we're going to wrap the show up. Tune in next week. We've got some awesome shows in the pipeline for January. Super excited this time of the year. Gets me fired up to go bass fishing. We will see y'all next week.